Hello. Today I'm going to tie for you what I'm calling a Hackle Legz nymph. Now this is a pattern fly, doesn't necessarily follow any specific recipe. It could imitate a variety of insects and substitution is encouraged. So we'll talk more about that as we go. I'm going to do this one on a Lively Legz 720 size 16. One of my new favorites for tailing material are these Coq de Leon fibers. I'm going to use a section of Goose Quill for the body and for the wing case. And we're going to rib that abdomen, the body, with some extra fine copper wire. Use a little rabbit fur for the thorax. And I'm going to use this Grizzly saddle hackle for legs. Now it's a little on the long side, but I kind of get away with it, and the extra movement won't hurt either. We're going to hold it all together with some Uni Thread in tan. A-dot. This is kind of a smallish fly, size 16. And we've got the hook in the vise. We'll get the thread started, and I'll slip in some commentary as we go. So I usually stop right before the hook point and trim off the excess. And then we'll work our way back to the bend and kind of park the thread there and get our tail ready. So I have a bundle of those Coq de Leon fibers. Now that's from the, I guess that's a cape I got. I mentioned it in a different video. I got it for about 20 bucks in one of the fly shops a couple of years ago, and it's just full of many feathers. These are a little thinner. These fibers are a little thinner than what you might find on the actual Coq de Leon tailing packs. So I just use a few more. They're very durable. If you do a standard pheasant tail or some kind of quill-bodied nymph, or even some of the other fibers for tailing material, they get chewed off or ground off bouncing along the bottom of the stream. So the Coq de Leon seems to hold up a little better, and I kind of like the looks. Most of them are mottled. So we got our thin copper wire on the far side of the hook. I'm going to wrap that in the conventional direction. On the size 16, I don't want to change directions to kind of pull the wire tight, so I'm going to wrap it in the conventional direction. So I'll wrap this this segment of, this is goose quill, and just look, if you look close, it's probably 5 or 6 fibers at the most. We still want to keep this kind of thin. We want these guys to sink. And you could weight this fly too. So we'll get those things tied in, park the thread up front, get a couple of half hitches so I can use the rotary feature on the vise. So we're kind of going in the opposite direction with the goose fibers. And you'll see they stand up and probably give the illusion of gills and the impression of gills. And we don't want to, I don't know, sometimes you want a perfectly smooth body. Sometimes that little extra fuzziness is an attractor by itself. So, and again, I've done these in pheasant tail. In fact, I had some of each with me on Spring Creek the other day, and I even did a size 18 with no legs at all. It was kind of looked more like a tadpole than anything else, and I think that's the one I got the most action on, was that smaller fly with no legs. So, but I did get a couple on this fly too. So we have the goose quill tied down. We're coming up with the rib, 4 or 5 wraps, just to kind of make it appear as segmentation. That little bit of spark there. And now it's fall and winter time here in Pennsylvania, so I don't want anything too flashy or too bright. I know we tend to do that in the winter, where you'll do some extra flash or some kind of pearly, and but the water's been really low and clear, and I've seen more fish run away from that stuff than eat it. So I was going for trying to be a little more subtle about this. And on Spring Creek, geez, stealth was the secret of the day. Long leaders, no sudden motion, and look in all the usual places, but It was a tough day at first until I got small enough and I started casting far enough away from me that I wasn't spooking the fish I was trying to catch. So there's a little bit of that rabbit fur. That's got a few guard hairs and some spiky junk in it, but we'll get that out of the way. So again, this is a pattern fly. This could have just as easily been any color you want of pheasant tail and kind of made the same way. That could have been peacock up there for the thorax. Now here I took another segment from that goose quill. I'm trying to get it lined up on top. I like to go about halfway down each side. And I don't kill it with tension when you first wrap that in. I kind of, I think it tends to tear loose if you do that. So I get tighter. Those aren't loose wraps, but I get a little tighter up away from the back edge of the wrapping there, so I don't actually cut those fibers. So I'm going to put in a little more rabbit dubbing, and I kind of want to work that back against the quill section and start that bulbous thorax. And that was another, again, as some of these things are perceived, who knows what trout think. They don't think like we do. Um, but that bulbous thorax, the flies with a bulbous thorax seem to work better than other shapes per se, or the ones that didn't have a pronounced bulb up there. So I'll get that hackle tied in. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this one's a little big. I probably could have found one a little shorter, but the extra length, those little fibers, they're shiny, they move around, they'll probably give the impression of life and movement, and so I don't think I mind. And we trim most of them away anyways. So here I'm deciding 2 or 3 wraps, and things are kind of spreading out there. I didn't really want that. So basically what started me down this path a couple of weeks ago was I was just trying to make like a guide version of a fly like this so I could just pound out a bunch of these. We're rolling this stuff along the bottom, and I lost quite a few of them. Well, in the brief time that I was fishing, I probably lost half a dozen, so I guess that's quite a few. Somewhere between 2 and 3 wraps. And we'll get a few wraps over the saddle hackle, get it tied down, kind of gather everything up, separate it from the hook and trim it. And while I'm tidying up and snipping off the extra fibers that I can see on camera but not with the naked eye, I'll mention that those trout that I caught on Spring Creek were my December trout. My goal each year is to catch at least one trout on a fly in every month of the year in Pennsylvania, just to make it a little more interesting. You shouldn't have to travel far to catch trout, right? We have a lot of nice streams here. So those December trout this is the first year since I set that challenge, probably way back in 2000. Oh, when was that? 2009, I think, when I first did it. And there are years where everything freezes over. There are years where things flood out, or life and work keep you from getting out there. So this was a good year, though. I was able to get out every month, several times, at least till I caught a trout. Then focus on more important things, or if there is something more important, you guys decide. So there's that other thing I like to do too. I like to fold that quill section back and wrap over it and do my whip finish back there. That keeps everything away from the eye. You have to make sure you leave enough room. I almost crowded the eye a little bit here. So 5-turn whip finish. And slice off the excess thread. And now it's a matter of cleanup. So still more fibers. Working with those hackle fibers and rabbit fur. There's kind of hair going in all directions here. So now I did a couple of patterns where I'll just leave a stub on that quill that I'm about to trim off close. And kind of like an emerger of sorts. And I don't know if that has any more fish pulling power, but it was kind of neat. So here we'll do a bunch of primping and make sure I'm going to do some trimming of the fibers on the bottom in the middle. And I want to make sure I have everything kind of fanned out so I'm not cutting off anything I shouldn't. And again, a lot of these nymphs, some folks reach for hen hackles or softer hackles to make legs with, and that's okay too. I kind of get onto these, and it's a matter of what you're confident in sometimes too. So while I'm chasing that last silly fiber there, um, the soft hackle stuff, the conventional soft hackle flies, I kind of tie them. I was fishing more than one fly here with these, so I used something with a bead, maybe a larger perdigon or something like that to pull them down. And so here I was mentioning about, so a lot of times these flies have hot spots. I didn't want it to be too flashy, so the orange is kind of subtle. And again, it's sometimes it's just what I'm confident in or what I believe in at the time. And that's some Sally Hansen's hard as nails. I don't always want to use UV. And in fact, I think after hearing about some of the folks that are allergic to it and whatnot, I was trying to use less of it. I don't know if Sally Hansen's is any better for your health, but so we'll do a little more Sally Hansen's next to the eye, get that little chunk of orange thread glued down, covered up, and that's pretty much it. So like I said, this with the legs on it worked kind of well in Spring Creek. A smaller version with no legs also worked well. I hope this helps you out. And if you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. And until next time, be safe.